Welcome in for another edition of NOF, the Friday edition to cap off this week. As always, we're brought to you by PJ's Coffee, the best coffee shop in the land. And if you're looking for a new car, make sure you check out Matt Bauer's Auto Group. They have dealerships everywhere, but in particular, they have the new Ford dealership in Metairie, and right in the same studio that we're housed in, they have the new pre-owned center. So make sure you check them out. Mike, let's get into our first topic presented by Sharbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. This week, I've heard some rumblings. People have been out and about in places in terms of the Saints contingent, just seeing everyone. One in particular, though, Joel Thomas, he was at Boise State for Ashton Genty's pro day looking at running backs. You know what I mean? He's the premier running back in this draft. So, Mike, got a question for you. Which round should the Saints take a running back in?
Well, it's interesting, and look, Nick's been following up on it, and you can check his latest rundown and everything. It feels like everybody had their pro day this week. The Saints got on a plane, and they're just not allowed to come home, so they're going from one place to another. And I guess maybe it's a coincidence that all these different big programs have a running back, but it's impossible to ignore that there's not a top running back prospect that it feels like that they aren't up close and personal with. Obviously, they did not send the full contingent to Boise State, but they sent their most important guy to Boise State. It was so funny. I was watching a video of him going through his workouts, and there's Joel Thomas in the background taking his own cell phone video. like he's like, all right, there's gonna be a lot of video from this, but I am gonna be sharing my own cell phone video. Or maybe he's just using the stopwatch on his phone. Who knows? But
It's all a part of the process, man. You want to have your own stuff.
look, I honestly don't know if there's a bigger must in this year's draft than running back for the Saints. Now, that does not mean it's what I would take at number 9. I would still rather have a defensive end. I'd still rather have a left tackle, but there's a world where the Saints and a corner might be the answer to this question, but there's a world where the Saints finish the draft and they don't have a defensive end, and they finish the draft and they don't have a left tackle. They finish the draft, they don't have a corner. If it just didn't line up for them in round 1 or 2, running back is different, however, because I think they have to end up with a running back at some point. They have to.
Yeah.
They have to compete with Kendre Miller. They have to have someone ready to help supplement and replace Alvin Kamara. But more than anything, they're a team with 2 third-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks. So 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, and that's where you can get great running back value. So, yeah, Ashton Genty would be exciting. Ashton Genty might be a game changer. Ashton Genty might be, for some team what Saquon Barkley just was for the Eagles. I'm going to need a lot of prodding and convincing to take Ashton Genty at number 9 with so many other needs. You need all pros and pro bowlers at every position. That's half the reason why I wouldn't take a running back at number 9. The other reason is the value seems incredible. It feels like a cheat code in the NFL. The guys that you can get. I mean, if you look at mock drafts right now after Genty, it feels like the Saints could maybe have anybody else possibly at number 40. Some other team might go ahead of them, but Hampton from North Carolina, Trevion Henderson from Ohio State, both Ohio State running backs, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson from Iowa. You could get the second. You could potentially get your second favorite running back at 40. I like that value better. I like the value even better in rounds 3 and 4 with those 2 third-rounders, with those 2 fourth-rounders. You want to make the fans happy? How about end up with Cam Scadaboo in round 4? That would be my favorite thing because it would generate excitement. I think that would be good value. Maybe you'd have to take him with that comp pick at the end of round 3.
Yeah.
But that's where I want to take it. Dylan Sampson's a guy they just visited with. He's another guy you might be able to get round 3. That's where Trevor Etienne from Georgia.
Yeah.
He's got the name value on the school, the name value in the family.
Yeah.
I would love to get him in round 3 or round 4. I mean, that's where I want the Saints to end up with a running back. And I'm not gonna go on an anti-Genty campaign, but I just think there's get your Bucky Irving, with the last pick of round 3. That would be awesome.
Right. No, for sure. Not a anti-Genty campaign at all, but there are more pressing needs that you need to address starting for. And, there's been the whole scenario just shuffle going on this entire week with, oh, well, what if they put this package together and able to get like a top 5 quarterback and, all of that. But we're gonna get into that later, actually. But just continue with the running back conversation. No, not anti-Genty at all, but there are more things that you need to address just up front. And personally, that's why I believe they should wait until the third round. Wait until pick 71 to talk about, okay, now it's time to go take a running back. If someone who I know didn't have his best season last year, but has been to sort of that mountaintop as a running back in Ollie Gordon the third from Oklahoma State, someone who's been to the pinnacle, been Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, won the Doak Award, things like that have been up there. Someone who has experience a little bit bigger, not as fast, but can complement Alvin in these waning years, kind of his contract on this team. And availability is the best ability. He's available. Yeah. He's available, so he'll probably be available to go in. Kendra, hope everything works out for him, but his history has kind of shown that he's not always going to be available. So maybe somebody like that being on the table, start looking at that, pick 71 range. But you can find them almost anywhere, man. There's running back.
Yeah, look, they can miss. Kendra Miller is proof that you can miss. I'm not saying it's a sure thing at that round, but I need to put pencil to paper to make a statement and say, like, the hit rate on third round running backs and fourth round running backs is higher than it is at other positions, but you just see it all the time. And then the other thing is, okay, so you do miss. It's also a cheap position to get in free agency. Alvin, you miss on a draft pick, Alvin retires in a couple of years, then you can go, the price tag for, anyone other than Saquon Barkley, because he's a one of one, but going out like the Vikings did, like the Packers did, Josh Jacobs,
it's got Joe Mixon and
for next to nothing. There are so many other ways to get good running backs, to hit on running back besides using a top 10 pick. I'm not saying Genty's not worth a top 10 pick, and I'm not saying running back doesn't matter in the NFL. It's just a position where I see other ways to acquire them, and I don't see that with left tackle, cornerback one, defensive end one. So that's why I'd rather do it in the middle rounds. Plus, I think you actually find guys who can be really, really good for your team at that stage of the draft too.
So just kind of in that pick 71 and down range from there, where would you pick a guard at in relation to a running back?
That's also, look, guard. We could have had the exact same conversation about guard. We could, that is also a position that I think you can get him in round 2. I think you can get him in round 3. I think you can get him cheaper in free agency. But they're guards, so obviously I don't have the guard knowledge that I have running back knowledge, because running backs are making highlights and guards are. But look, there's 3 Georgia guards in the top 12 of one list that I'm looking at. How about give me a guard from Georgia?
That's what you want. That's just a guard from Georgia.
There we go. Like, I will admit that I need to do more homework to tell you which day 2 guard I want, but I want a guard in day 2. Give me that too. Like, if I'm penciling in, first of all, never pencil in positions. Pick the player, pick the grade. But like I said, they have 2 picks in round 3, 2 picks in round 4. If one of them's a guard and one of them's a running back, I'm gonna like the way that fell for the Saints.
Yeah, Mike, you've covered the league for almost as long as I've been born. Is this the first draft where you're like, hey, man, you need a little bit of everything? You know what I mean?
I just texted somebody that the other day that was asking me, what pick should I make for the Saints? And I said, I swear I've never covered a team like this before. Every position, it was somebody who was like, are the Saints fans going to come at me if I say this? And I'm like, you can't go wrong. There is not a position where everybody would be like, the Saints don't need a blank. There's not. I mean, maybe off-ball linebacker would be where's he going to play in year 1? But, DeMario is 36 years old. So even off-ball linebacker is on the table. But obviously, corner, receiver, offensive tackle, offensive guard, defensive tackle, and tight end, running back we just discussed, quarterback, obviously. On a position that if you if you pencil them into your mock draft, that Saints fans are going to come at you on Twitter and say they don't need that. I don't think I have ever seen, yes, they need one at every position.
For sure. And, I threw his name on here for you, another running back that I took a look at, Caleb Johnson,
Yeah.
Iowa guy. That's your people, man. That's your people.
Probably have to grab him at 40, which,
Okay.
do you want to use pick 40 on running back? That look, that's where you get Jonathan Taylor. That's where you get Nick Chubb. That's one of the reasons why I think
Process, yeah.
that's a great time of the draft too. I'd rather gamble and hope he falls to round 3, but I don't think he will. But so yeah, if they take Caleb Johnson at 40, go Hawks.
Nah, that second round, I'm saving for either a receiver or maybe even a tight end, a receiver, tight end, or cornerback. That's kind of where I'm at in that second round, and I'm locking it down in there.
They'll probably take a corner. If we're following Saints trends, that's where they like to find their quarterback.
Yeah. Oh,
DB, I should say, at least.
Right. That's where I'm saving that range for because, hey, man, I think that's really where it's needed at. Like, everywhere, but specifically, I think they need to get it right there and get it right. That's the overarching thing about the entire draft right now. A lot of these positions, you just can't say, "Oh, well, we're going to build this guy into this." Of course, there's a maturation process, but you got to get it right. There has to be some type of tangible. Oh, this person was on the field. They showed this. We can build off of this. You can't just come in and build them from the ground up because it's not time for that right now. Let's go into our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Sticking with the draft talk. When would you be okay with the Saints drafting Quinn Ewers or Jackson Dart?
Yeah, I know you guys talked a lot about quarterbacks and are they going to take one no matter what on Wednesday? And obviously, I agree with the theory. The Saints are in the mode now where they should, no pun intended, throw a dart every year. Like, first of all, I'm okay with them taking one in round 1 if they're in love with one. Go find your Bo Nix. Go find your Michael Penix. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters for the future of this team. So if you feel, and oh my God, I keep running into people who are just Bo Nix that I know from Denver. They're just like, they think they found their guy and they got to do it at 12 or whatever that pick was. That is the dream. I'm not saying it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but if you find a guy that you like as much as the Broncos like Bo Nix and you can get him at 12 or you can get him at 9, do it. Run up to the podium. If I felt like the Saints felt that way about Jackson Dart, I'd be thrilled. Great. You got him at the 9th pick and you're off and running with your quarterback that you believe in. Great. I'm not convinced that Jackson Dart is that guy from my own eyes, from draft analysts' eyes, and from things I'm hearing inside the Saints building, although that is something they would obviously want to keep quiet and not get out there. But I don't think Jackson Darty is their Bo Nix or their Michael Penix. But they have my permission at number 9. The problem with number 40, so we just had Matt Miller from ESPN give Quinn Ewers to the Saints at 40. Obviously, the Saints went and spent some time with Quinn Ewers this week. I think they could like him a lot. 40 is a weird pick for a quote-unquote second-tier quarterback. I mean, once you get to 40, are we talking about Will Levis, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis? Yes, great to have a guy like that in the building. Kenny Pickett, he went 20th. Great to have a guy like that in the building. But what is the separation between that tier of quarterback and Spencer Rattler, who you already have in the building? Are you using a number 40 pick on a guy who might never elevate to that number? Like, is it almost like top 15 or bust if the guy's really a starter? And then if you're just looking for a lottery ticket, do you wait till 3 or 4? I'm really torn on the 40th pick on a quarterback. Even though, look, if the Saints use the 40th pick on Ewers, take as many stabs at it as possible. I wouldn't hate that. Depends on their grade for him. But it feels like a tweener pick at this position for sure to me.
Yeah, no, I just was looking up because Jackson Dart's pro day is today. Kind of maybe some
Saints had dinner with him. Yeah, I mean they are going to seriously consider every one of these options. It doesn't mean they're in love with any of these people yet, but they're not doing their job if they're not trying trying to find out where the value is on all these guys. Nothing matters more.
Yeah, for sure. Ewers, I'm not gonna lie. Seeing his tape and just the way he was throwing, I'm not sold right now. I don't think that should be the direction they go in particular, if they're gonna go with a quarterback. I kind of would even put Milroe a little bit ahead of him in my personal book. But Jackson Dart is such a he's such a raw kind of like he could sling it. He can sling it like far, hard, just do the thing, but it's the gamble that comes with that. And it's some of the things that, maybe he's not at that level yet. And like I was telling Nick the other day, sometimes maturation is something that kind of gets lost in the shuffle just because they're like, oh, well, you did this in college, just come to the league and do it. There's a process of growth, but I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be terribly mad if they went out and got Jackson Dart early. But just going back to the whole, you have so many holes to fill. But if you feel compelled and he shows out at this pro day, you know what? I'm hitting the table and I'm saying do it.
Yeah, it would have to be conviction. Like I don't do it for a maybe. I think you can. I don't know if you set your franchise back if you take a Will Levis in the second round. You definitely set your franchise back if you miss in the first round, though. So
yeah.
There's there's no obvious answer to this. And if we think they picked the right guy, their board might look a lot different than ours. But if it's kind of like I'd almost rather see you guys take the guy in the first round than the second round.
No,
because then I know you have that conviction.
Yeah, no, it's such a wild time right now, man. We're gonna hit a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have more shows. Keep it locked to NOF.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome back for more NOF. It is now time for our next segment presented by Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Mike, I don't want to be doom and glory. I don't. That's not the guy I want to be. I don't practice, being the guy that's just all negative all the time. It's so cynical. But they haven't shown me anything to really be too encouraged about. What should the Saints over-under win total be for this year, man? I saw that there was a projection of 5.5, and I can't say I disagree all the way.
Well, okay, so this is a Vegas standard. I think that was ESPN Bet that put that number out. I don't know if others put out the same number, but for just a little explanation, a Vegas total is always going to be a little lower than say a prediction, because Vegas knows that injuries happen. Vegas knows that teams underachieve. Vegas knows that avalanches fall, and so I think Vegas's numbers usually kind of total 500 for the league, or you know what I mean? Same number of wins, same number of losses to the leagues. When I used to work at ESPN, we used to all do our prediction total, and people used to make fun of us all the time because when we put our predictions in, it'd be like 70 games over 500. Nobody wants to pick their team to go 3-14. Last year, none of us were picking the Saints to go 5-12 because you don't predict injuries. Vegas, on the other hand, they're going to take a win and a half off everyone's total because they're somewhere somebody's, half these teams are going to go under. So 5.5 is a little different than us saying, what do we predict the Saints win total? The other thing Vegas does is they're catering to the public. The public wants to hit the Patriots because they got, Drake May and they just hired Mike Vrabel. The public wants to hit the Bears because they got Caleb Williams and they just hired Ben Johnson. Ain't nobody out there hitting the Saints. The Saints didn't move any needles this offseason. So for a couple reasons, 5.5 was a little lower than I expected, but I understand it. I think the Colts, even though they've been like a 9-win, 8-win team, I think they were right there next to the Saints. Maybe they were 6.5 wins, things like that. So anyway, that's all a disclaimer. So the question is, if we're Vegas and we're trying to get just as much action on either side of the line, where would we set the Saints total? And we don't want to take a bath either. Now, I would say 7. That would be my number because I think it would be foolish to go out and place a bet on the Saints over 7. You'd have to have a lot of faith in the Saints to put your hard-earned money down saying, I know this is an 8-win team. But I think it'd be a bad bet to pick the Saints under 7, too. They're trying to win. They kept Derek Carr. They kept all their veterans. They re-signed Chase Young. They're keeping their foot on the gas pedal, even though they didn't spend like crazy in free agency. It would take injuries like last year for them to be a 6-win team or worse. If Nick pointed out, they have the second weakest schedule in the NFL this year too. They're still in the NFC South, where you can almost win all your division games just by being a mid team. So I would not go out and bet my hard-earned money that the Saints are definitely going to win less than 7 games. So if I was Vegas, I'd set it at 7. But I wrestled with, if you have to put a 0.5 on that, would I set it at 6.5 or would I set it at 7.5? That's a little tougher for me. All right, let's hear it.
I'm at 6.5, man.
Yeah.
I'm at 6.5. Like we discussed the other day, I've been burned too many times. I'm at 6.5, and I don't know. It depends on where you draft at. That might be able to bump it up to the 7. What for you? Would a draft pick change it for you?
No, because I'm kind of factoring in. I know they have 6 picks in the top 100 or whatever it is. So I know there'll be a little more quality added to this team. My Vegas line is 7. My prediction for this team is 7 right now. But if you told me, Mike, you have to put $100 down on Brandon's 6.5 line, I think I'd take the over. I think I'd bet the over instead of the under. With my teeth gritted, I'd much rather
doing it.
I would, the 5.5. I would bet the over though, for sure. I mean, we saw what had to happen for a 5-12 season to occur. They had to have the worst. They have not lost less than 7 games in like 18 years before that. It takes colossal happenings to get to 5-12. So 5.5 surprises me as a line. I would have thought it was closer to 6.5, 7.
I don't know, man. This is a different time with different DNA. You talk about the last 18 years. Man, I miss it. But we just got to keep pressing on for the future.
Okay.
No, for sure. But let's go into our next topic. And in this one, we're going to turn back the clock to the 2023 draft. We have draft picks in there. Some of them are key-ish contributors to the team. Some of them got an APB out. You don't know where they're at. So
I see a lot of APBs.
You see a lot of APBs out for them.
Brian Brzee I think he was a good pick.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, which pick do you still have hope for, man, from the 2023 draft?
All right, let's run through it. 2nd round, Isaiah Foskey. 3rd round, Kendre Miller. 4th round, Nick Saldiveri.
No.
5th round, Jordan Howden.
He was on my list.
Oh, no, I skipped one. Jake Haener, 4th round. So, wait, hold on. I was calling this out. Saldiveri and Haener in the 4th round. 5th round, Jordan Howden. 6th round, A.T. Perry, who is no longer here, obviously.
Right.
Man, oh, man.
man. Oh,
I,
man.
I guess I'm going to pick Kendra. Health. None of his injuries have been injuries that can't be overcome.
Right.
It's not like, he's torn his ACL twice and it'll never be the same again, or he has a degenerative condition and he's never going to be the same again. So if you just tell me, hey, Kendra's going to play 15 games this year, then I would go to Vegas and place a bet on. I think the over is on him. Yeah. So I don't question the talent. But look, there are things that kept him off the field. Clyde Edwards-Helaire showed up and immediately leapfrogged him last year. Like, the coach, understanding the full depth of his assignments or like showing in practice that he had it down. I don't know exactly what kept him off the field, but it wasn't just health. So, I mean, I guess Kendra, just because he gets a fresh start, he gets new coaches looking at him. Maybe he has a healthy season. I mean, the opportunity is still there for Jordan Howden, but I didn't like that he took a step back and a newcomer like Will Harris stepped in right ahead of him, and now they have Justin Reed. Nick Saldiveri, he did get to finally get on the field toward the end of last year, but they've immediately gone out and added tons of depth with, Will Clapp and Dylan Radins and obviously bringing back Landon Young. So they're not holding a spot for him like they kind of were last offseason. And certainly Foskey's not going to be my pick here. So I guess Kendra Miller just because he has the cleanest path, but I'm not buying stock in any of these guys right now.
No, for sure. In ranking them, it's for me, and I'm talking about getting done before, Howden, just because it has to happen. But
we've seen it.
Right. In that same atmosphere, Kendra has to be right there because it has to happen. They've been pressing the refresh button. Okay, it didn't work out with this. Refresh. Okay, it didn't work. Refresh. That's happened too many times where now you have to put something on wax. You have to show that you can consistently go out there and make it happen. Sal, the very interesting case, Nick and I, we spoke on him the other day on the topic about Dylan Radins, and if he wants to stay on the team, he has to show up. So it's coming that time. Foskey, I'm low. Foskey,
how can you not be? How can you not be? I mean, last year was the opportunity. He had a good offseason. He was healthy. Everything was right there for him to take a leap, and he really didn't. So now it's the opposite. Now the clock's ticking on him. But new coach, new system. Maybe that's what he needed.
Maybe a change unlocks some things, you know what I mean? Hopefully, but
there's only one way it can go.
That's the thing. There's only one way it can go. Hainer, man, during camp, he was exciting. He showed a lot of things. I never forget. You remember when we were in Irvine and then they were doing a red zone and he pulled and then took it in himself. And he was hyped. He was juiced. That's good. You need that. But when he got time to play, when he got his shot,
well, and it becomes a lot harder for Hainer if the Saints draft a quarterback this year too. I mean, he's kind of off this board if they draft a quarterback. I mean, then all of a sudden is there room for a fourth quarterback on the practice squad or something sort of situation with him.
Outside looking in, this place you don't want to be, but what's happened to not put you at that point? I don't know, man. It's
a dark class.
It is a dark class, and y'all were ranked. I think this was last week. And in Martin's question, y'all were ranking which draft set the Saints back, and I put this is very high for
in the running.
Yeah, this one is very high for me as one that put him back because, like, this man Foskey was a beast at Notre Dame. Like, he was the sack guy, and then he gets down here, and where is it? So hopefully something gets unlocked, with this new staff. Hopefully something gets taken back to square one and built back up, but.
All those guys are still here. All those guys should enter the offseason healthy. I mean, hit on one of them at this point. Hit on one of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're gonna hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the Martin Wine and Spirits questions of the day.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience. Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back for the Martin Wine and Spirits questions of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's first question comes from Brian. Brian asks, where was Mahomes ranked compared to Jackson Dart?
It started out pretty similar, and that is fair for us to be skeptical of a Jackson Dart. So funny, I remember that year the Saints had picks 11 and 32, and around Senior Bowl time, there was a lot of talk that, I think the Saints like Pat Mahomes. Mahomes to the Saints at 32 was the whispers. But by the time the draft came around, I don't know that anyone had him anywhere in a top 10 in a mock draft, but there was at least chatter. The Saints at 10 could be in play for Mahomes, or at 11 could be in play for Mahomes. I know when I was at ESPN, our Chiefs reporter, Adam Teicher, shout out to Adam Teicher. He's retiring this year. He traded up for Mahomes in the ESPN mock draft, or I think he just took him for the Chiefs at their pick because he had fallen. And predicted that happening. So it wasn't a shock. But, similar tier. I think Mahomes was similar to like a Mac Jones when he went like 15th to the Patriots a couple years ago. Like, I feel like Jackson Dart would be a little bit more surprising of a top 10 pick. He's a little more polarizing, but that is totally fair that Mahomes was nobody's consensus top 10, and tons of people were poking holes in his game. So all it takes is one team to say, you guys just don't have the vision we do. And then you're the best quarterback, maybe in NFL history.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that goes back to my original point of, if you feel it in your heart, that much conviction to go out there and take him, man, he better hit. And he has the raw talent. This pro day, for me, I rank pro days kind of high because it's an environment where you can just show yourself. So I gotta see what the clips are hitting on to see how he does. But saying Mahomes, not at that level yet. Let's go to the next question.
Hold on, let me find Daniel Jeremiah.
Okay.
Top 50 8 years ago. 3.0, so we're into March by now. Deshaun 27th, Trubisky 32. I don't see Mahomes in his top 50, man.
Yeah, it's
so
bad down here, but
it's just Deshaun Kaiser 33.
Oof. What are you in Cleveland, huh?
Did he start in Cleveland or Green Bay? Oh my gosh.
Rough. That's rough.
Marshawn Lattimore 9. He had. Where do you have Ryan Ramczyk? 25. Alvin Kamara 24. Shout out to Daniel Jeremiah being on top of that one.
He was there. Just playing around. He was there.
Cooper Kupp fell out of his top 50 in 3.0. Should have kept him there.
Yeah.
Marcus Williams 47. But yeah, so look, it's a fair comp. People miss on quarterbacks more than they hit on them, but Mahomes was a guy who the conversation is probably similar to Jackson Dart. It's probably a fair comp. If you're a Jackson Dart lover and you want to be like, I don't want everyone telling me I'm wrong to love Jackson Dart. They were wrong about Pat Mahomes too. They were wrong about Pat Mahomes too. You're right.
Do you see the pro days? Do you see this like pro day team dinner window as the cap off of any narrative about a player? Like, you don't think?
I think Jackson Dart is going to be a beauty in the eye of the beholder kind of guy. I don't think he's all he has to do is go out there and prove that he can make this throw at his pro day. All he needs to do is prove to teams, that Jackson Dart is he's got a skill set that's going to turn some people on. It's going to turn some people off. Jordan Love was probably a fair comp.
Okay.
Some teams just weren't interested. Some teams saw it. The Packers obviously saw it. It's probably a really fair comp for both these guys. So I think Jackson Dart is going to be, I bet you if on April 28th, we got to look at all 32 teams' boards, I bet we'd see, a wide disparity of grades on him, which was probably true of Mahomes as well.
Yeah. I was laughing about it the other day that they're not doing the off-season Hard Knocks anymore. That nobody wanted it after the Giants and seeing how they had everything organized.
Really like that?
Yeah, they went to the college, which, going to Bill Belichick, that was a shock, but making it happen. The Saints traditionally love drafting corners high. What corner do you think they're highest on right now?
Well, look, Will Johnson would be the pick for me at number 9, and actually, I would have no problem with that. We had the question last week where we were like, "What's the dream scenario?" The board falls to the Saints, perfectly. I haven't settled on an answer. Most years, I have an answer for that question. Look, I'm assuming obviously Travis Hunter doesn't fall, Cam Ward doesn't fall. I don't even think Mason Graham falls. I'm a little torn, we mentioned Genty, Tyler Warren, wide receiver. Do we want McMillan? Left tackle and defensive end would be my top 2 picks, but I'm not sure there's a surefire left tackle in the top 10. I'm not sure there's a surefire defensive end in the top 10. So, I would feel really good about a Will Johnson pick. I think he's worthy of a top 10 pick, and I think the Saints need a number 1 corner, and I think it's one of their top needs. So, I don't know that Will Johnson is my guy, but I'd be perfectly happy with it. I think that would be good value for the Saints. I don't think they get Jahdae Barron in the second round. I know they don't get Jahdae Barron in the second round, but I think there could be value at 40. We're talking about the Saints' history. That's where both of their current starters came from: Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor. Safeties in the past, Marcus Williams we just mentioned. All the way back to Roman Harper and Tracy Porter. 40th pick corner. It's possible their second or third highest rated corner could still be there at 40. The way those guys are bunched together, and there's some depth there. 4 or 5 will probably go in the first round, but just like Kool-Aid last year, somebody they love might be there at 40. That feels like the value spot for me. But obviously you're gambling on losing out on your guys if you wait even that long.
Yeah, no, you have that kind of 6-foot-ish slim build and Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, and then I don't mean to offend you right here, Iowa State, Darian Porter. He's 6'4", 200 pounds. So you have a different amount of ways you can go.
No, Cooper DeJean was from Iowa. That's how you get to the Super Bowl. You take Iowa DBs around this stage of the draft.
Sure. But nah, they've hit. We have to see what Alontae and Kool-Aid do, but those are people who were taken with that second round pick. So I think it's kind of agreed by us, even right here in this conversation, that range is where they should. If you have the ability to take at 9 Will Johnson, do it. But in that second round, for me, that's where I'm starting my corner deep dive and saying, okay, let's get him. Let's get him.
There was at least one mock draft that had Barron to the Saints at 9. I mean, I feel like he's moved up, the talk recently, but I don't hate the idea. Especially if they're getting their number one corner in the draft. If all the corners are available and they get their first pick at number 9, you can't hate that. DeJean went exactly 40th last year, so do that. Just do that. Just get a Super Bowl starting corner at number 40, easy.
You know the song?
Yeah. Cooper DeJean is unfortunately not the Saints draft pick.
He is not. But the song is very catchy, and he had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. So y'all winning right now. I was up.
But look, corner. The short answer to the question is anywhere in the draft, at any point of the draft, because you need a number one corner. So if you take one at 9, great. And I feel so much better about their secondary if Kool-Aid and Taylor are quote unquote 2 and 3, or if all 3 of them are jockeying for positions. But if you wait till the second round, if you wait till the 3rd or 4th round, and you're adding depth and someone who can compete for Isaac Yiadom for that 3rd spot, do that too. But that falls in the must range for me. Right. We started the show talking about running back being a must. I don't think you can get through those first 6 picks without adding a corner at some point.
No, it's malpractice if you do. That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate everyone for stopping in today. Make sure you keep it locked right here for the latest draft news. Keep it locked. Catch you later.